Hey, thank you for joining us on PlanetSide 2's Work in Progress. Today, I'm your host, Xander Clauss. We're going to be taking a look at, for if you haven't joined us before, we're working on the swamp continent of Hossin. And this is our level design stream where you're going to be able to take a look at, kind of the in-depth how we craft an individual outpost or, facility for our game. Today, we're going to be there's a few things we're actually going to have today. I've got a few codes. If you haven't played the game since implants have come out, they came out last week. If you haven't played the game since last week, we have put in implants, which allow you to, add powers to your character. So I'm going to be giving away codes for 5 packs of those that you can redeem if you haven't gotten one from us already. Additionally, the level that we're going to take a look today is actually based on a Twitter suggestion that I got that I had originally shot down, but I think that it's a cool idea that we can do something with. Twitter user at ClockN1 actually sent me, hey, you should do, since Hossin is swamp themed, it's got the Mayan theme with all the, Mayan gods as the facility names, you should do a Mayan temple. And I was like, well, I don't think the props that we have, we can do something cool with that. And I thought about it a little bit more over the weekend, and one of the things I was thinking was like, okay, well, rather than doing it all as a, stone block as you would kind of, look at it as like, a typical Mayan temple, we can actually do something with terracing as we've done in the game, we do in the game all over the place. So I'm thinking that we can come up with a kind of like a cool temple in the middle of the swamp that that we're gonna put together today to get the base work for it. So without further ado, we're going to take a look at that and switch over to the game camera. Right now, you were looking at just show you the area we're working at here. So we're working in the eastern center part of Hossin right now, south of Voltan, which you can see over here, and east of Ixtab. So over in this area, we have Voltan and Ixtab, a biolab and an amp station nestled between Mulak as well down here, a tech plant. So this is kind of a cool location. It's off to the side. And we're going to have this this temple that we're going to build kind of pop up in this area over here. And to save often, I'm actually going to turn autosave on so that I can't really lose too much. 10 minutes sounds good to me. And I'm going to turn that on because I will go nuts if I don't have that. Let's see if we can turn off the fog. There we go. Okay, and shadows as well. So I have cleared a spot out for this area. There used to be something that was kind of nestled in the woods over here. Given the proximity to this small outpost we put here, I figured it'd be a good idea to take this temple and kind of move it to this area here. I'll be diverting the road a little bit to possibly have it kind of go like this, rather than this bend that kind of bends this far outward towards the ocean over here. Let me get the water planes too. This is going to be important to have those rendered. There we go. So now we have this swamp area here that's got these sorry, still getting some feedback on my my volume. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at over here. Voltan's up this way. We've got Mulak down this way, past this one little bramble growery over here, and we've got one of the platform bases over here. Although it's kind of cut off in the side here, so it's in pieces. So this is where we're going to build it. This Mayan temple looking thing over here. I'm going to take this as to be the top of this thing. I've had a few ideas floating around in my head about what I want to do with this particular temple, and I think we're going to have this kind of be the top of it. And the warehouse building is cool. It's got the holes in it that we can kind of create an underground area as well to it. Just going to rotate that a bit. There we go. Important part of this too is to get the spawn locations and the teleporter room locations set up pretty quickly too. So I've thought about this already, and I kind of want to have them off to the side. One of the things with this temple that I'm thinking of is this thing's going to be built up on kind of a mound with some terraced, like retaining walls essentially. And I'm going to have a teleporter room over here, or a spawn room, and a teleporter spawn room over here. And they're going to connect to the very top level of this temple via bridge that goes across. And this this temple thing is going to be up on some gentle slopes, and then there's going to be 2 retaining walls. So it's going to be like a 3-tiered temple is what I'm looking at for this. So let's start clearing out some of the trees here. They're just going to get in the way when we're trying to kind of visualize how big this thing is going to be. I have goofed. So I have... Oh, look at that. I can't do anything here. Well, I tried to actually get the codes together for the implants, but it turns out that when I maximized it, it actually went to the render screen. So you've all seen the codes now. It's ruined. You can just go back and pause it and just steal all of them. Additionally, apparently I can't paste them in the chat, so that's a thing I can't do. Alright, clearing out some of these groups now. Yeah, as much as I'd like to have gotten this codes to you, apparently it's not happening until I'm a mod. So I'm going to lay down some of the stuff that we need for the... That's going to slow that down if that errors up. So let's pull some of the groups that we need for this. It's going to take the mini spawn room. No? Don't want to work with me here? There we go. So there's our mini spawn room, and I'm going to take the teleporter version of the mini spawn room, which just has a teleporter tube in there. Dark, we didn't really get too much exposure on that, the fact that we were going to be doing this today. I think it kind of caught people as a surprise that we were going to be, might have been doing this. I've got 62, it'll pick up over time. Probably be better too if we had codes that actually were able to be given out on this stream. Unfortunately, that was something that didn't have too much planning put into it. And yeah, it picks up over time. We've gained a good like 15, 20 or so in the past few minutes. So another part of this too. I mean, this is kind of the boring setup part as well, so it's not really the most exciting. Might have been a little bit better had I actually taken some time to get a very basic blueprint of how this would look, but you get to see it from the very start as opposed to the seeing something like, well, how did you get to that base level thing? This is pretty much as bare bones as it gets. I'm sitting here with like measuring sticks, trying to figure out how, what the distance between this spawn room to this thing is going to be. Actually, now that we've kind of know where we are, I'm going to rein in the bubble a little bit because that is choking when it comes to the scene tool now. So I'm going to set the bubble to half the size. easier on the computer. Alright, so I'm going to take this and move it over here. What I'm expecting is I'm going to build up kind of a big terrain mesa over here, as well as over here too. It's going to have some bridges that come off to the center part of it. So, this thing too, we've got to make sure that the height for this thing is proper as well. So we're going to see what we're going to do for these retaining walls. So I've got my modular walls here. That upside down. I like using the bottom of these rather than the top because it's flat. And I think these will kind of give a cool feeling when you have these kind of stacked up. So I don't know how tall we want to make these walls. I'm feeling too, just because of the way the terrain works, is that we're going to have to angle them slightly as well. So they might be like that. And that kind of helps us get around some of the limitations that we have with our terrain and occlusion and stuff like that. There's some bugs that can occur if you don't take care of it the proper way. So we got to see how tall we want this warehouse building to be, as well as we got to start building our little hill for these things too. So I'll take another one of these to get terrace level 2. And let's get a army man just to kind of get the scale for these things down as well. Cover dummies. Okay, so we've got a standing green army man here. So we want to make sure that this this temple looking thing is fairly imposing when you look at it, but not so much that you feel like you're running upstairs the entire time when you're attacking it. So we got to figure out the height for that. And I think move this to that. Now, what sort of Mayan temple is it without a big stairway going up to it? So we gotta get our stairs too. How many stairs will it take? I'm going to shrink these stairs a little bit so they're a little bit steeper. So shrinking them 25% makes them a fair bit steeper. Should be able to climb a little bit easier. So I want to make sure that there's not too many of these stairs that need to go up. So here's maybe our first terrace. We can see what we can do for the second one. Do we want it to be a little bit bigger? Take another set of stairs here. So these kind of end where the first one ends. So we can have 2 flights of these stairs to leach up to the second one. I don't know if that's going to be good enough in terms of height. Like I said, you don't want it to be specifically, slanted too much towards the light assaults and people that are just able to get over the height barriers that we've put here. Let's start doing some terrain on this too. I kind of wanted this to be a very gentle slope going up to this, so I want this to be on top of a very shallow hill that's terraced on top of that. So it's a pretty prominent part of this landscape, even though you're going to see all these trees and stuff around it. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting part of this landscape. So if that's the case, we might need a little bit bigger than this. But we haven't really started our hill yet either, so we've got a lot of terrain work to do for this particular one. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this and have this on top of this hill is that I don't think we've really done too many things with the terrain. We've kind of for Hossin, and I wanted to build something out of terrain. Like we've done some pretty big projects in terrain otherwise on other continents. Like J908, for instance, is a big one. That's the massive crater on Indar. That was a lot of work to get that one done, and I think it turned out pretty good. And I'd like to kind of recreate something that's just a big, like, project-looking thing. And I think this is going to be a good example of that. So I'm taking the hill tool right now and starting to lift this up very, very slowly, although I can lift it up a little bit faster. Yep, Prudentia, the terraces on this thing are going to be a bit bigger. HE rounds are definitely going to mess up anybody that's on these terraces right now. The only thing I'm trying to do, well, just for people that view this in the future that can't get access to the Twitch chat, Prudentia said, I think at the moment it's a bit prone to high explosive shots of the walls, splashing everyone in the different layers. With the distance that we have here, it's probably a little bit bigger than you actually think, but even then, you're still kind of in the blast radius. And now you're absolutely right. I think these terraces are going to be a little bit wider than they are right now. This is a small outpost, but I still want to have kind of a grand feeling to this. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This current state, you'd get anything. Lightnings would just mow this thing over if they had HE rounds on them. So looking back here, we're going to have to start clearing up this as well. So we can just mow these over. There will be no trees here. I have actually started rolling into the chunk behind this as well, so I'm going to have to check these out too, just to make sure which ones are being checked out. So that is 48, -8. Bear with me, folks. I'm doing some source control boring stuff right now. On my other screen that you cannot see. And 48, -16. Alright, so there we go. I've checked these chunks out. Basically, I need to make sure that these particular, anything within one of these blue, you see the blue lines on the ground, anything that's within that needs to be saved, otherwise it won't get saved. And since I've crossed over to this border over here by deleting some of this stuff, I need to make sure that that is actually the case. So that I don't have to do all this work again. Not my idea of, spending the night. Things too is I'm going to see how long it's going to take to get from what I'm going to assume this center area is the cap point. See how long it takes to get to the cap point from where we anticipate the spawn room to be. So this is a 30 meter stick. I'm going to increase its length to twice that, so it's 60 meters now. And we're going to have a bridge that comes across here. This floating spawn room is going to be on a plateau. It's got a bridge going across it, so you're going to have to fight across the bridge if you're under attack. Up here we're also going to have the ability to pull vehicles and stuff like that as well, so... This rock needs to go. This guy might be able to stay. No, this guy's going. There are a lot of objects in these tree groups. Okay, now I've got some more space to play with. Cube Lord asking if this is a new type of outpost. This is kind of a novel idea. I don't think we've really done anything. We've done a fair amount of terracing and stuff like that. SRP hydroponics is pretty terraced like this too. Some of my bases do. I do that typically often. This is kind of inspired by like South American temples, so we're trying to see if we can get some sort of, like Mayan look to this thing. Looks like this is turning out alright. I'm going to start spreading these out to make them bigger. This thing's going to be a little bit back comparatively. I think this is going to help performance. Like we said before, the base was over here previously, and it's right next to another base, so this is going to improve performance by not having to render as many objects. Cube Lord, I believe we might be cutting back the render distance a little bit just because of the fact that there's fog there. The render distance isn't nearly as big as it is on Indar, where you can see across the continent. This is going to be a little bit more swampy. We've got a lot more objects on Hossin too, so. So let's see how this gradual hill showing up. It's not going to be, I don't want to have it so that you can't really have vehicles out in this area here, but I want this to be pretty naturey. Should probably start getting this frame together too. So I was talking about before about wanting an underground area to this. That's where these holes come in. So what I was thinking last night, I was thinking, well, what am I going to do for work in progress today? And this idea was one of the ones that I was throwing around for a while. It's kind of wondering whether or not I want an underground area down here that's got shields on the side. That's going to make it easier to fight up to this part once you take that bottom part. So I think that's what we're going to try. This could be one of those things. I've only got 2 hours to do this, and we're about like an hour and a half in. So I'm going to try and hash out as much of this as possible before we got to get out of here. Take these. Show you how we plan on doing this. So this bottom terrace is going to be a little bit bigger. I think this is going to be a bigger flat one. The second terrace might be a little bit smaller. And we'll have the warehouse on top of that. That stair that got there. That's right, we gotta divert the road too, so we should have a bunch of extra space here. Let's get to work on that right now. Basically deleting all of the stuff that Devin's placed. So I believe H1Z1 is going to be streaming on twitch.tv/H1Z1. Their stream's going to start at 5:30, half hour after this one's finished. So you can switch over to that after we're done over here. Prudentia asking, how will I make the corners considering the walls are angled? And that's probably just going to be a big scaled up column, which is the solution to a lot of my problems at work. I can create bases with sloped angles. Our tools don't really do anything that's not on right angles essentially very easily. So anytime you want to do something like something that's sunken into the ground, it takes a little bit more time to kind of get that going. And you don't want to have more than maybe 3 or 4 degrees kind of sloped in one angle, because then it just feels like you're like fighting in some sort of base that stuff is just topsy-turvy, as opposed to just like, oh, it's sunk into the ground a little bit. We can create groups that do that. It's just one of those things that I don't think we've really created any like sideways groups where like maybe one of those little trailer type buildings that just kind of has all the like, you know, boxes and stuff slid to one side. Dark Texas, we're doing a Mayan temple for our work in progress today. Right now I'm kind of just divert this road over here a little bit so we have more space for the temple itself. I want to get kind of like a lawn essentially on the front of it. This may have like a road that goes around the side as well, so this is going to be a big... Yeah, Prudentia, it's absolutely not impossible, it's just time consuming. And for the purpose of this, since our tools don't really foster quick creation of that sort of thing, I won't do anything like that on stream. It's going to be... Oh, that did not turn out pretty. Alright. Over here is a good accident. basically I tried to pull up rock or road from under the grass texture, which caused that disaster. So it's going to be something I have to fix later. Basically going to divert the road so it goes like that rather than bend around like this. Take a grass brush. I don't think we've got any pre-made NPCs for snake pits and booby traps, unfortunately. And I don't think we have the tech for stones rolling down hallways either. So this road's going to follow more of the little river that's over here. This is absolutely not on a flat plane, so we're going to have to smooth this out after the fact. Rustopoulos is asking, do I play in first-person mode to interact with the terrain that I create to kind of get a good look at it? Yeah, in this case, you take a look at this down here, and this is like, you know, looking from above over here. It's like, oh yeah, it looks flat enough, and then when you get down here, there's basically just big hills that block terrain. So if any tank was going down this, you could basically play peekaboo with them with a rocket launcher. But I'm going to be flattening this road out a little bit. This road's diverted a bit. Maybe move it over here a little bit. Follow tighter with this. But yeah, I do play at ground level a bit when I'm editing stuff just to make sure that I know, hey, this is where this sort of thing goes. Stream's only been going for about 30 minutes or so. We had a rocky start with trying to get things set up, so create some roads over here. Hopefully this texture still works. I'm gonna have to polish this road up later. I just wanted to get something laid down. This is very clearly not an attractive looking road. Yep, only 30 minutes or so. Alright, so there we go. Flatten this out a little bit, and I'll paint this up on my own time. It's not super exciting to watch this get painted on. is this? Alright, so that's our road. Alright, back to our structure. So now we have more space. As you can see, the road was coming out this far before, so we had like maybe even up to here we had like, you know, it had trim and stuff like that, and probably a little berm and stuff. So we've got another, I'm going to say probably 20 meters worth of space out here for the front yard of our temple, essentially. So now we're going to take a look at how wide we want this terrace to be. Caltrans can be a little slow, man. Not gonna lie. Alright. Just gonna take another meter stick here. We're gonna start setting how big the terraces for these things will be. So I'm wondering if we even really want the warehouse building up here. Can always put something smaller too. We've got a little bunch of little small buildings. Be something like that. That. This might be cool for the top of it. Man, that's a tough choice. I use the warehouse building everywhere. What do you guys think? Should we go with one of the little buildings for the cap point area up here? I'll leave that up to. Yeah, I'm thinking smaller building too. I've used this warehouse building everywhere, and it's pretty pervasive on Hossin. Large buildings can be easy to hold too, depending. Some of the large buildings that we have with these warehouses kind of makes it so that, you know, you're able to actually really dig yourself in. Smaller building, I think, is going to look a little better than the big warehouse building on the top of it. But ooh, this is a tough choice. Okay, I gotta get my platforms out too. Can you use the blue ones or the reddish gray or reddish brown ones? I think this is going to mix more or mesh better with the yeah, those two colors go to better together, so I'll stick with that. Alright, take my platform 2 4x4, this guy. Yeah, Prudentia, you're right. These kind of have like a better tile look to them than the other mining platforms. So I'm gonna go with these. So I think we're gonna get rid of the big warehouse building. We're gonna place this up here, and this might be not necessarily the very cap point area. This might be more of cap point complex. One of the things that we can do up here to kind of give it that feeling is to do... I want to do custom buildings for these. I'm not really comfortable with just using the ones that just have like a couple consoles on them. It's like, yeah, you see those everywhere. So So rather than just having, this is the G building up here. That's what letter it's been given, and these are the I buildings. So I can have two I buildings flank the G building up here to kind of make it more of a an interesting play area rather than just like, okay, there's a building on top of the platforms. So you can do stuff with these with fences and stuff that kind of create some flow between them. So you can do like this. I did something there that I shouldn't have. So there we go. We can do something like this for the very top terrace of it. So we've got a second terrace. We've got this big terrace down here that I think is going to be a little bit more garden-y. I don't know, we're going to do the second terrace. And then should we have a third one? A lot of cool stuff we can do here. And we better get the frame for this. This is the biggest part, is making sure that you've got your framework. This one's going to be pretty light assault friendly as it is, man. Just given the fact that it's mostly just height barriers preventing you from getting from one thing to the other. Getting up to the very top isn't going to really be something that's like a special area for. The whole thing's going to be a good place for light assaults to fight at. Let's see how big we want this bottom thing here. So we've got approximately, each one of these little tiles is 5 meters, by the way. But Giggly, actually, we're taking. I think you were in on that conversation about the Mayan temple. This used to be SO22 Dead River Depot or something like that, and I'm turning it into a temple. So each one of these tiles in this 4x4 array of them is 5 meters each. Spacing these is not right. Yeah, I've wanted to do an underground area as well. So actually, let me put that down too, so we can kind of see how that's going to form. So we're going to mining, and where is that? That's a tech plan object. No, structures. Solely tech. Side bay door. Here we go. So these two doors I really like for building anything. It's going to create an underground area that's like big enough for vehicles to go into. So you get to do cool stuff with these. Problem is that the way we do underground areas is kind of hacky, and we've got to make sure that we're not going to be causing any performance problems with this. So that's one of the things we need to worry about. Anything that's going to be encompassing this underground area that we would build with these has to be totally covered in prop geo rather than terrain geo. So let's start this frame better shape. Lost everything. There we go. So we get these stairs going up this. Dark Texas, we're going to be getting some waterfall particle effects like we saw with the steam pipes. I tweeted at that last week. So we're going to be getting some waterfall effects, but we don't unfortunately have them just yet. But for some of the areas like I was talking about before, SRP Hydroponics has some like water that should be falling, but we haven't gotten the prop yet for waterfalls yet. So that'll be something that we'll get soon, but not just yet. Yeah, I'm on the fence too about the underground area, like Kickster68 mentioned. It's a small outpost, so I don't know. This thing's going to be pretty sprawly as it is. Without multiple points, I'm not sure if I want to do an underground area. These both are the same 14.5. Yep, no, they're same angle. See if we can cover up this seam with this big column. So this walk up here, I'm imagining some like Taj Mahal looking stuff with some like big planters full of like those blue plants or something like that. We've got a lot of cool props that we can do the sort of garden-y stuff with. So yeah, I think I'm not going to do the underground area. I think that's too much for a small outpost like this. These things are about 30 meters wide, I think. Let's take a 30-meter stick and see if that's the case. Yeah, they're about 30 meters. This thing is 90. I want to squeeze it out to 100. There we go, now it's sort of symmetrical. I don't think we're going to have platforms up on this this first terrace though. I want this to be still ground, but we'll see how it goes. I may not be able to do anything with that. Yeah, it's pretty open air. I'm not putting any turrets down for a while though. That's like that's like a finishing touch really for a base, is to start putting turrets and stuff on. So now one of the things I'm thinking about is rethinking the interaction between the spawn room and the temple itself. Wondering if like a bridge is the best way to go about it, or yeah, I'll be adding forward infantry terminals for you to hack. That's definitely an important part of doing anything with our game. It's a play style is being able to take one of those terminals that's kind of in the front of the base and kind of hold it, you know, for your foot, basically a foothold for your crew if they're in there. So I'm wondering if we need multiple terraces on this thing or not. Might have to move up this whole thing a little bit. Maybe it needs to be bigger. What part of level designing is your specialty? I've got somewhat like of an art background compared to some of the other designers, so that's probably one of my specialties. There's a lot of different kind of like ways you can look at like what someone's good at in a level design capacity. Burness and Malorn are the other two that are on our team right now. Brian comes up with a lot of really good designs that are kind of like interiors. He does really good interiors. Bennett polishes his stuff to a really, gnarly degree when it comes to like how they're thought out and flow and stuff like that. I try to do a lot that are kind of within the game lore and like artistic sides of things. So that's kind of my, that's kind of what I would do. I would say that I do. It's my specialty. Right now, I'm trying to think of whether or not we need another terrace on this thing, or whether or not it's cool at this stage. Maybe it should be a little bit bigger. Maybe the dirt terrace should be around the bottom here. It's kind of hard. Let's get the second terrace where the cap point's going to be first before we make any decisions. Yeah, Prudentia, one of the problems with right now is the fact that the walls are kind of slant a little bit, so it's a pain to rotate them on the same axis. This is why I'm having trouble like lining them up compared to what I usually would. This is something I do day in and day out, so it's just a little different than I'm used to. Right now I want to get this cap point area that I'm doing up here before I make anything. I should be building from this out. Because right now I'm struggling with what I want to do for the center area and how tall this whole temple needs to be and etc, etc. So I want to get that hammered out first before we go anywhere else. I might need to bloat the size of this base a little more than I thought I was going to have to, so it might be that the defenders hook up to the second terrace and the attackers have to start from the very bottom. So it could be anything really. Yeah, it's Mana Drizzle. It's going to be a step pyramid basically. It's only going to have like 2 or 3 terraces on it, so it's not going to be like a big, grand affair. I mean, this is a small outpost too, so I don't want to go too wild with it. Prudentia, that is absolutely Terran technology. All right, so I'm going to give a bit of a skirt around this thing so that there's room to maneuver around it. Probably also get this platform up on the same level as everything else. There we go. Yeah, so I'm going to have to pull out another platform for this one. I'm going to use the 2x2 for this back part. Mining. Copy the coordinates on this thing. Alright, so here is our center platform with a bit of a skirt around the edge so that you can fit this a little bit better. So I'm going to start moving these around if I can, assuming I can select the groups. So they look a little bit more symmetrical. It's going to be pretty tight up here. Let's see, what we've got 2 platforms skirt on this side, so let's see if we can get another of that. We can move the G, let's see here. Got 3 on this side, 3 on this side, it's kind of low. Centered on that. This building's sticking through the platform, that's not good. I'm also gutting these buildings too. They're using the standard pre-props that we have everywhere, but I mean this isn't really interesting looking, so I'm going to redo that. Same thing with this. I find it funny that somebody decided to build a temple and then it's just like, yeah, we're going to put our guns and stuff in here. This is same thing with this room. They're all getting reupholstered a bit. So I've got the skirt on this thing now, and now we can take a look at doing this to kind of get the final terrace of it, because I think it's probably a little bit smarter to build this thing from the top down when it comes to this. Just to know how far we need to go with this terrace. Do we want a 3rd terrace? There's a lot of ways we can look at it. Let's get this to make it look nice. Move it over. How many of these do we need up here? Shuffle it over. To bring up the singles over here too. So I've got this 3x1 for this wall. I have to bring in another one that's a little bit smaller so we don't have to squish it so it doesn't look stupid. Also want to do that. Nope. Snap the grid on. Flip it upside down because I like the... rather than having this edge that has all this like busyness and stuff on it that can cut through your floor tiles. I'm just going to use the very clean end of it. I'm going to copy the amount of rotation on this, which is negative 14.5 degrees. Pulled over to this. Copy the coordinates over. And bring it down. There. So we get this. Take this whole thing. This is bothering me and it needs to be symmetrical because I'm crazy about that. There we go. Take this, copy it, move it over to the back, and rotate it again, and follow is on. And re-rotate it again. 2, 3, 4. Creature on the Wing asked, what is in all those boxes anyway? Really important stuff, it's why it's just left laying around all over the place, man. has a mind of its own. There we go. So I've got this cool terrace looking thing over here. It's absolutely where they store the nanites. There's no other place to put them. Alright, so I'm going to finish this terrace up here by putting the corners on it. Voodoo Child 88, this is in fact Hossin. We're working on what used to be Dead River Depot or something like that. I am replacing it with a Mayan temple. Just a heads up for those who may have joined recently. It is on the center eastern side of Hossin. Let me actually show you in the chunk manager. It is right over here, in this area over here. Right between Voltan, Ixtab, and Mulak over here. So we're kind of nestled in between three of these major facilities over here. Oh, nanites are basically the perfect MacGuffin for whatever you need them to be. Yeah, Demand 22. This is I looked at a lot of the stuff that I have tasked out for Hossin, and I've got mostly only small outposts left. We're getting very close to finishing it. But this was in the best location I think that could, something like this could be. We wanted to, I wanted to do something that was kind of like I don't know what you would call it, like a flagship sort of small outpost, one of the fancier looking ones, kind of like the large outpost that's got the VR training sort of cube on it that kind of gives it the weird effect. It's just kind of like a novelty essentially for this area. So I think this is looking a little bit better. We've got kind of the base for this and kind of have a better idea of what we want out of it. I've got to get these pillars on the corner. What I'm going to do then after this is once I get this center platform set up, I did not finish Devil's Wreath. That's one of my tasks to do. I didn't really want to rehash doing it today because we already, we went through the general gist of what it was. It was you have kind of your VR area, holodeck looking thing, and I didn't want to rehash that too much for this stream. Kind of try to keep it a little bit fresh. I think rotating these out a little bit too makes them look good. I don't know if I like that angle that goes up like that, but which Indar base would we make next? I don't know. I think Corey is currently handling those. I can ask him and tweet that if that's something you're interested in. We're doing small changes to Indar pretty incrementally. It's just like put it together and as we get the time we'll put out small updates on stuff for Indar, but it's not something we're particularly focusing on. It's just kind of as we see him and we get some spare time to do stuff here and there. We're trying to get Hossin done, so Indar is understandably not a priority. Wally's asking how I come up for names for bases. I didn't name the Hossin ones, but I named most of the other ones on some of the other continents, and it's just kind of like a, when you're designing them, you kind of have an idea of what you want to do with this particular base when you're doing it, whether it's like a hydroponics plant or a basically storage facility or a communication center or something like that. You've kind of got some idea for it. And usually it's like coming up with like a a fake company name, like Araxicom or something, and you know that's going to be your like, okay, well, just use your imagination and pretend that this company runs some sort of communications thing in on Araxis. For the actual facility names, though, they're all kind of named after various world mythologies. Hossin is based after South American, like, Incan and Mayan mythology. So that's where, like, the names Voltan, Ixtab, Chak all come from. I believe Indar was, like, Mesopotamian. I forget what Esamir and Amrish are. Darth asked a question, is there anything on Amrish that surprised you that you go back and alter it since you redid it? I think there's some rough spots on Amrish that I'd like to work on a little bit. The Zelas area is probably one of the rougher areas in my opinion. But Amrish on a whole is such a better experience, I think, than some of the other stuff that could use work in the game, that it's not like a major priority. That's right, Esamir is Norse. Forgot it's got like Ymir and stuff in it. It's pretty self-explanatory. So I can get these. Let's see here. I'm gonna make sure that these stairs also have. See if these can fit the bracing under. I am not going to make these things the slant for that. These are basically our blockers for preventing access from under the stairs. Get them to the proper angle before we set them. So you have to make sure it's pretty even. There we go. So that's how we get those stairs done. So it looks like it works. Alright. So now what I want to do is retool this. So we've got the very top part of this temple that we're doing. And we've got a second terrace here, and then I think we're going to create a third terrace that's pretty much just built up on dirt. So you've got this wall here, and it's still got like plants and stuff growing on it. So I'm going to work on that. I got to think about the footprint for this thing though. Plus we still got to work on our little plateaus for the spawn rooms as well. I think the defenders are gonna hook up to the second terrace here, and it's going to be basically a king of the hill sort of thing, trying to get to the top here where the cap point's going to be in this room. But I think the cap point area is going to encompass a little bit bigger, since I can draw an area with this box over here. I'm not sure if you can see it on any sort of detail in the stream. You should be able to see this yellow outline of it. So I'd probably like to take this cap area and bloat it out a little bit more than you'd expect. Usually we like to have negative space set the boundaries of what a cap area is going to be. But in this case, I think having this be more of a, rather than everybody kind of piling up in this building over here, having soldiers be able to kind of like sneak around the edges of it and be able to cap it is going to be good. Because I can still have like cover props sticking out over here to still create the negative space that looks like something's kind of encompassing around this whole cap point area. Usually building walls are great for that because it's a pretty easy boundary to understand, but we're gonna have to take a look at something different for that. I don't want the cap point for this whole thing to be this king of the hill fight up here just to get shot in the face when you try to figure out what's going on there, and I don't want to make everybody just rely on grenades too, so. Okay. So I want to see how these stairs are going to interact with the other terraces too. So we've got how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 16 tiles across, which means these two center tiles are going to be the center tiles here. Pull that in like that. Down. So I think 2 is probably a good number, maybe 2.5. Let's see where the tiles go. So I think this is going to be a 2.5 step stair. Copy both of them, not just one. Down. Yeah, so we lost about half the steps going inside of the geo there, so that hooks up nicely, and I don't think that's too gnarly of a staircase to climb. Darthas, what base are you most happy with out of the ones you've done in PS2D? Is that a benchmark for everything else after? I kind of liked how NC Arsenal came out. I don't use it as a benchmark for other stuff because it was kind of built in a very unique, sprawling way. So I'm not going to use that and compare everything else that I make or anyone else makes to it. But I was happy with it. I think it's one of the most extravagant things I've built, so I guess that's probably why I like it the most. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the best playing base in the game, but I liked how it turned out. It's kind of got a very imposing... Whoa, that's, you know, we haven't really seen that before. Oh, thank you, X-Mithras. Kind of what I want to do with this, too, is that I want to have some of the trees build. It's kind of... I want you to turn the corner on seeing this base and then kind of be like, whoa. So, we've got... trees. It's got these... No, it's a tree branch. This is the, no, that's not the stump. Here we go. So I want to have these two kind of flank the sides of this. I might get them to lean in a little bit more, too, because they're going to be overhead. I don't think I want to have 2 of these trees, though. So we've got this one, too, that I can lean over to the side. I'm going to have to, you know, lean this over to the side as well. So, yeah, these are going to go like that. This is part of the grand scheme of things to make this thing look really imposing, is just have these kind of create a triangle that creates negative space that leads your eye over here. So you've kind of got this shot like, oh, cool. Yeah, these trees look like absolute garbage until you get the sticks on them. They just kind of look like dopey giraffe stumps until then. As you can see, they're kind of, these are the bare bones versions of them. The ones that Devin has actually put together as the groups have pieces actually put into them, like the fungus. There's some growing reeds and stuff over here. So these things are a little bit more dolled up than they kind of appear at first. Just small details like that. Devin's really, really good at building these groups like that. I don't know which way the sun goes. Let's see. I'll load the Hossin sky file, which is incredibly foggy compared to the map render one, which is what we build the mini map in. So I can goof around with the hours and see if we get a cool shot here. Oof, look at that. That's pretty cool. Let's put hour 14, see if the sun's there at that point. No. I do not know where the sun is for these. There he is over there. I think I broke the sky file. just the command. Yep. Alright, I broke the hour command, so I don't know why that's doing that. But anyway, the I think the sun does set east-west, and west is behind the temple over here, or east is behind the temple over here. So you should be able to have the sun actually rise, assuming it's going east-west. Yeah, I need another tier for this base. It's going to be the second tier here, and then it's going to be kind of like a big dirt tier under it. Which these trees might have to move out of the way a little bit for that. Should build up this second tier first. Terrain editor is not the... There we go. Good old map render. Okay, so we're going to have to make this base a little bit bigger to accommodate for our big tier that we put on top. The second tier is where these spawn rooms are kind of hook up onto. So people spawning at these are going to have to fight their way through. I'm going to have to start accommodating that on my end as well. What I want the spawn rooms to do is to be a little bit higher, so there's not immediately, when you're fighting across however I decide to build this bridge over here, I want the attackers that are going to try, anyone's trying to spawn camp the defenders coming out of the spawn room over here, I don't want them to be on equal footing. I want the people that are attacking the spawn room to be way worse off. And I think I'm going to put an AP turret at the end of this bridge. So, element, how does the continent get, the map for the continent get drawn? We actually have basically a camera that looks down with a specific sky file that takes a picture of everything at once, looking down in the game. So that's why if you look in the game, it's actually using the light file that I'm using right now that has the sky and everything for it. This is what the mini-map is rendered in. And one of our artists basically takes this whole picture, cleans it up afterwards, and it gets exported into the game as the mini-map. Yeah, man, I don't know what's such a bad idea about that AP turret. Especially if I build it in such a way that anybody that decides to hack it's pretty stupid for doing it. Maybe I can put the turret inside of the paint field so nobody can hack it. Yeah, they're going to be on raised areas regardless. So I want to get this down with 1 or 2 stairs heights worth. Yeah, some of the, I think 2 of the Lithcorp things have a few little quirks about them that need to get kind of hammered out. I agree, there's some spots on the Lithcorp with the AV turrets that kind of look down at you that are not really expected. AP turrets still exist, we just typically don't use them too much. I don't recall who made Deep Core Geolab. I think that might have been a, Malorn may have done that one, I think. It's very likely one of his. Yeah, so I have to spread this out another, maybe so that there's going to be 15 meters worth of skirt on the edge here. So it's going to be another one of these. Yeah, that sounds like it was something that that Malorn did. Andre is our AV lead. Oh wait, you guys have heard that noise the whole time too? I I was wondering if I was in my own personal hell over here, and I'm so sorry. I'd like to apologize on behalf of the company for subjecting you through this. It's pretty bad. It stops temporarily whenever it's thinking, or I open up the Windows browser to look at new brushes or something like that. It temporarily stops, and it's just a moment of quiet for what I've been listening to for the past hour and a half. So I think this is a better... This terrace is a little bit better. I got a mute terrain editor. How's that happen? I wish I was not so embarrassingly incompetent with how to mute this program. If anyone has any better tips for that, please let me know. Dear Lord, please let me know. Actually, Jack, I worked my way through QA. Well, I understand muted in Windows. I'm just wondering where exactly I would do that at. Oh, there we go. That work? Well, I tried. I did my best, man. Alright, now we gotta extend it another... we've only gotta do 1 meter over, 5 meters over here. Or maybe we can just move the center platform over a little bit. I would also blame Andre. Well, I just tightened everything on the board, and it didn't really seem to do anything either. I'm going to have to talk to Andre about this afterwards. If y'all want to go through the shared pane, there's only about like 30 minutes left in this broadcast before they throw me out of here, so... We've made it 75% of the way. I think we can keep going. Just never forgive Andre for it is all. It's the only thing I gotta remember. I have Mirror Music. I have autosave on. I've learned from my past transgressions. Okay, so I'm going to move this thing over, whole kit and caboodle over about like 2 meters. Yeah, I would have been able to deal with like the noise had nobody brought it up, because then it just would have been something I was whining about that nobody would have known about. But now we're going through this together. We're going to make it. H1Z1 will be on the twitch.tv/H1Z1 in about an hour. They're going to be starting at 5:30. This is going on for another 25 minutes or so. Yeah, they do use they do use the same computer. They'll be doing it after I get off this one, and they'll take some time to set up. Swig Freddy, do I have development freedom when it comes to terrain editor? I've been doing this for a while now, so I'm kind of generally like trusted not to do anything tremendously stupid in it. So, you know, usually I'll have like, hey, here's some guidelines for this new, you know, one of the things for Hossin is that we try to kind of incorporate a lot more of the jungle into each one of our bases. So that was one of the guidelines given to us for Hossin. But usually it's just like we've got guidelines of how to make a base, and you know the typical things of how to make a good base is kind of what we have in our heads, and those are the guidelines that we follow for it. We want to make sure that it's not too taxing in terms of performance, and it's not, you know, too many objects or anything like that. So there's guidelines that we have to follow that I don't have like complete and utter freedom to just go absolutely wild with everything. But I do have an incredible amount of freedom that I think most developers don't get. But SOE is the only company I've worked at. But as much as I'd like to keep streaming, I will like seriously actually be thrown out of here because they do have it on the schedule. I can't argue with them. I don't have to pull that back for that, so just move this over here. I don't want to put anything that's like overtly ritually or anything in here. I think it's basically going to be something kind of more akin to like Vanu Archives, where it's just a bunch of like computers and stuff. Like this is more of a stylized data center more than anything. I was in QA for 2.5 years, I believe, before I was brought on as an apprentice for PS2. Alright, so let's take a look at this. Is this thing remotely symmetrical? Looks like it's good. It's kind of a little bit lopsided towards the back, as I would like it to be. I think I'm going to put another stairway over here, maybe in the back, I don't know. And then we've got our third terrace here, which is going to be pretty wide, but I don't even know if it's going to have a skirt on this side of it. It might just be a, you know, kind of naturey area that comes off of here that's like maybe comes halfway up this. There's a few ways we can do this. Maybe it's just going to be a half terrace, who knows. Yeah, I haven't done it. I think I might tweet this one sooner rather than later. Devil's Wreath, which I haven't renamed yet, which is going to have the VR rooms in it. I kind of felt like I did by and far the coolest thing of that on stream, and I don't really have the drive to finish that more so than I have anything else, so it's just something I'm just waiting around to do. Yeah, man, definitely don't turn my mic up that much because you're going to start hearing this noise. It's been haunting me for the past almost 2 hours now. pretty awful. I can... I might be able to put water. I can put a water plane in the third terrace that's going to be like gardeny looking. I can definitely put like a water plane in there. Maybe have like a river's coming off the side or something like that. Yeah, that would look pretty cool. That is a good idea, Hoodie one. There we go, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm imagining that there's going to be roads going at least halfway across, maybe around the entire temple itself. I like making roads go around the whole thing. Can you not just do that terrace on the ground level with the things around it? I can. So you want like a... So here's what I was thinking for this. It's probably easier to just visualize this rather than try to explain it. I'm not very good at explaining things when I can show you. So I was thinking some... Darth, I've got these two trees over here like this, so hopefully they're going to be providing a little bit more cover than you expect right now. Let me just maybe get some of these put together really quick. Hossin trees. Tree branch. So I got my two branches over here. So it's going to be kind of like this. I mean, this is probably a little bit big for this branch. Maybe just move that down like that. It looks kind of stupid if it's too close to the trunk. So stuff like this, it's going to have some... You're going to be not gnarly exposed to it, but you're going to have a fair amount of exposure from the air. Plus you got trees in the back I'm going to put over here too, so... I don't want to have it too covered by trees, but I want to have the cover low enough that that you can kind of get between the tree branches, so you can't get like, you know, rocket potted or Zephyr or anything like that as easily as you could otherwise. But if you have too much cover close in, you're still going to have people that are playing peekaboo shooting you through them, so... But yeah, this is kind of what I'm imagining, is you're going to have like the trees that are like this, and then you're going to have the normal branches coming out the top here, so we get rid of the stupid swamp giraffe looking thing. Anyway, this is what I'm thinking for this third terrace here. It's going to be like this. Maybe 3 entrances on the bottom. And then the actual thing is going to come up a little bit. This. Except it doesn't look bad. That's the plan, is to make this look good. Alright, Mythers, is this kind of what we had in mind here? Send it further. I got the road over here, dude. Part of it, too, is that I'm still going to have to do stuff like... Go down to the Sunder Garage. Stop for a second. For whatever reason, when I'm focused on something that's like calling like Windows deals or something, it stops for a second. Yeah, I mean, it's either going to be like a step up like this, but even then, whether it's walls or whether the walls are kind of just the retaining walls for the terrain under it, you don't see too much that's going to be in like terms of like vehicle interference. Like, I assume you're going to have a few harassers that do some stupid stuff, like try to like boost up this wall. Maybe they'll get in if I have like some, because I mean, I'm going to have to, you know, for aesthetic purposes, maybe have it like, you know, built up a little bit like that. So I mean, that's maybe enough of a ramp. If you hit it the right way, you can have your harasser fly in there if you've boosted, not like this. So even then, once you're maybe like 5-10 meters into the second tier, nothing on the outside is going to bother you anyway. So that's kind of what I was thinking with that. But I've got to get the attack point for the Sunder out here and stuff like that kind of taken care of too, because those are important parts. When it comes to like an HE Prowler, like sniping people and that, I guess there's probably some over here that are kind of concerned. Maybe I can just make these not sloped walls and just have them be short walls. So, yeah, I see people talking about some of the wanting like an underground area for this. And I was throwing around the idea of having something that's underground under here when we originally had like a warehouse building on top of it, but it's really too complex for a small outpost, especially one that's supposed to be kind of like pretty cut and dry step pyramid sort of thing. So I guess we're looking at this little walled garden over here and deciding what we want to do with it. We don't really have too much high terrain around here, and there's enough trees that are going to be blocking stuff that won't really scare me too much from the perspective of like a prowler or something locking down and shooting. But it's definitely a real concern. And maybe that's something that we just won't have these walls be sloped, and they'll kind of be like a walled garden then. Nah, I can't make 3 points for a small outpost. That breaks the consistency that we've kind of gone with since launch. I think we do kind of break that rule here and there, but this could be one too. Depending on the size of this thing, maybe we'll make it 3 points. I'll have to talk to Corey about that. See, that's one of the things that I'm trying to balance with the aesthetics and the garage thing. It's like, yeah, I can have the garage hook up to the to this garden part, but how much does that affect like the overall look of what you're looking at with this sort of temple thing? So how far do we got down before we hit the water? Because maybe I can take this Sunder garage and have it kind of be like a, I don't know what you would call it, like a part of the front facade. Take another Sunder spawn here. Yeah, maybe I can, might be able to blend these into the garden. Let's take one of these here, one of these over here. Yeah, so maybe I can do these with the Sunder garage, because this is still a pretty big hike for the attackers, even if they're coming from here. So we can do that. Yeah, Mithras, I think that'll work, man. I think that's a good idea. I have to use some shorter walls down here, but I think we're in pretty good shape for this. And I don't want to make this just a funnel too, where it's like the only thing that's going to be like a center area over here, and then these two if you want to come to the Sunder garage, because I don't think that's good. I think I'll end up putting an entrance over here as well. Maybe this is just going to be a little walled garden. I think it'll be really cool looking. So put some water in there. But yeah, I don't want this to be too linear when it comes to the attack path for it. Because I might as well put like another set of stairs over here and another set of stairs over here. So you've kind of got to... I want this to be kind of attacker friendly at least to start bolting up, because if you just have everyone, it's going to be a big meat grinder when they get up the stairs over here. But this area is going to be a little bit different. I think we're going to have some buildings up on these two over here. It's not necessarily going to keep the temple aesthetic as well as I'd like, but that is true. We're going to have to check to make sure that these things are far apart enough from each other. 62 meters, huh? 7 rather. Oof, that might work. So this is our stretched out 30 meter stick to 60 meters. So this is 60 meters. I might be able to have these flank on the edges of this. That way, we can have 2 Sunders spawn at this thing. I think that's cool. I like that. So this is significantly more than 67 meters, so you should be able to get 2 Sunders stuck in there. Yeah, Kickstarter, that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be... I want to have some, because you're going to have flow coming in. It's going to be from here to here. And I don't want to have 2 staircases, because obviously from this side you're just going to go up this one. If you're this side, you're going to go up this one. So maybe I'm going to get 3 to give you some sort of illusion of options. Oh, I lost my stairs. There they are. They're all inside these. There we go. So that looks good. So in this corner over here, I'm just going to put another column, and that will finish off this wall over here. Doesn't stick through, it looks like, so cool. There. And same thing with this side too. I'm going to put another wall over here. Flip it and reverse it. Where did it go? Oh, that's the wrong way. The same height here. It's going to be going into what part of this column goes into. So it goes in the right in that corner right there. So it should go in that. Same height. Snap. So it should go in a little bit over to the side a little. Yeah, Freddie, hopefully Andre takes a look at this thing before H1Z1 goes live. So they're probably going to have a bit bigger of a audience, so it's probably don't want to do damage to that many people. There's a wall going in. There's a wall going in between these garages as well. Make sure. Where's our? There's an army man buried under here somewhere. Here he is. Our buddy from earlier in the stream. Nope, I lost him. Thank you, autosave. So we're pulling out our army man to see how effective these walls are going to be at keeping tanks out without being stupid high. Alright, so this is like, I don't know, 5 meters tall or something like that. Shrink this wall a little bit. I gotta get 2 of them, so I stick one over here in this wall too. Make sure it's not clipping through. All the way on the roadside garages, the garden beats. Oh, okay, so you're saying like this. Yeah, it looks cool. Yeah, fire shards. I've given up on the fact that harassers are going to get into everything. Like I can't make myself lose sleep on that, but you can do your best to prevent as much as you can. So if you take a little bit of prevention on that, you still get fairly big gains. So yeah, now we've got this garden courtyard here that is it as symmetrical as I'd like it to be. No, it isn't. That looks a little better. Mithras, we're doing good on ideas over here. I was not expecting this thing to be as in this good a shape as when I started this. Yeah, actually, Jack, this is supposed to be kind of like a sort of Mayan-looking temple. The green bar is a ruler. This one over here is a 30-meter stick that I've stretched out to 60 meters. So we're using this to gauge if two Sunders that are deployed are able to actually go in these garages and be deployed. I guess the minimum now is 67 meters, so there's a significant amount of space between these two that they should be able to do that. Yeah, here it is. Here it is if I have it set to 30 meters. So that's what that is at 30. Yeah, I gotta lift up the ground under these a little bit more. Or I could just make the staircase longer too, I guess. Oh, we got these, there we go. Start supporting these staircases too. Why use an extra object when I can just stretch it? Same thing with this. I'm going to take it and rotate it. I can put railings on the stairs. I mean, it's not. I don't know if railings on stairs is really something that the mines would be down for, but so I got these two stairs. I'm going to take these, copy them, drag them up. He is advertising on H1Z1. Kind of, we've got a lot of you know, crossover between players because of the, you know, our all access program now. That if you subscribe to any of our stuff, you can play the other stuff. So you want to play EverQuest 2 and you're subscribed to, you know, PlanetSide 2 All Access. Yeah, and I wanted to have, actually, Jack, I wanted to have the stairs stick out like you would see on one of the temples too, because it's like having them be flush in with it doesn't really make much sense. Cap off some of these wall ends over here. Nope. So I think I'll probably end up making this a little bit more of a grand entrance. Like, this is the front door of the thing. I don't want it to look this lame. So I can come up with something better for that. Something of this terrain over here. Yeah. Alright. So, here's what we got today, done today in our 3 hours. We've got a very basic part of our Mayan-style temple. It's going to need a fair bit of work. I can see it doesn't look as symmetrical as I'd like it to be. But I think in 2 hours we've got a fair bit of groundwork. This is typically more than I get done. Thank you so much for the suggestions. I'm going to switch over here to the camera. So thank you for tuning in today to Work in Progress with PlanetSide 2. For those who came in late, I am Xander Clauss. We are here every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific, and you can tune in, take a look at how we make our bases in game, and give your suggestions for it. Please come and please see us again next time, next week, next Tuesday, 3 o'clock. Half an hour if you want to go to twitch.tv/H1Z1. You'll see Adam and our community manager show you some of the stuff of how we're putting that game together. So please check that out. That'll be starting in a half hour at twitch.tv/H1Z1. Thank you for tuning again. I will see you in a couple weeks. Tune again, and you can follow me at Xander Clauss. I will be tweeting progress on the temple as we go on. I probably won't be showing this off for our next work in progress, but you can take a look at the progress in the coming weeks on this temple that I'm putting together. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you next week.